You're pulling taxi service duty?
Possibly. Whenever you're married to a midwife, you can go at any given time.
All right, well, anybody in like a medical profession, I assume, would be
Midwifery
kinda like
is
that.
well. I mean, doctors, OBs are different, right? They have, Hey, we're live, by the way. Welcome to my life.
We're live.
My midwife life. My wife is a midwife, and therefore she can get called out at any given time, day or night.
That's a good name for a podcast. My midwife life.
The midwife life, yeah. So I guess I should tell you this, Dylan. My top story today is what, Mac? I just got a 3060.
Oh, fun. I sound so excited.
I know.
Let me
Wow.
hold back my excitement.
That's harsh, man. Wow.
Okay, let's start. What a 30? Video card.
Yeah, video card. 3000
Oh, okay.
series video card.
Now I'm more excited.
Come on, man.
I thought. Well, you said Mac, so I was thinking. I
No,
thinking
said,
about like a
what
Mac thing.
I just did a Mac video of like, you can't even build a PC. And then I'm like, oh.
Yeah, although that's why I was like, you just did that whole video, and then you said Mac, and in my head, I was, is there a Mac that's like a A3060 or something?
Yeah.
It could be a model number. I think they're still in the 13 numbers, but Louis Rosman, if you're watching, tell us, do they have an A3060? Probably unlikely.
I doubt he's watching for some reason. Also, that. And on top of that, also going to be chatting lenses. You saw the box that I sent you there, the Sigma 18 to 35 f1.8.
Good old Sigma.
That's the $1,000 lens, dude. That was $1,000. By the way, we keep fluctuating between one and like 5 viewers. It's weird. Like,
very weird.
Kind of going up and down here. So welcome to anyone joining the stream. We'll let more people kind of filter in.
It says Dark Corner Studios is live. What are the odds?
Look at that.
Notifications. What a concept.
Hey, I didn't even get the notification. I'm supposed to get the notification first. Oh, wait, yeah.
I weirdly enough, I do sometimes get notifications from myself.
Oh, do you?
Like to my, yeah. Like I'm logged in as my creator account on my phone. Like that's the YouTube account that I sort of use for everything. And it will notify me when my own video gets posted.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like,
just so you know.
It's a good thing I'm not paying for it, or it'd serve me my own ads too.
Well, you never know. The yes. So I'm moving this channel over to a Sigma 18 to 35, just over my right shoulder here, or left shoulder on video. You can see my old Tokina 11 to 16. That's what I was using on the channel, which served its role quite admirably, I gotta say. Like that
11 to 16 f2.4 or
2.8. And you know what? I mean, I really like the Tokina. It was nice. It's not an expensive lens, and when you go full wide, the amount of aberrations there are, it's gross. Like I did a photo shoot for some of the thumbnails where I just sit in a bunch of poses, and I'd been freshly shaved and I was looking good. So I was doing all these poses at wide 11 because I wanted to have that kind of fishbowl effect. When I've got my hand straight up in front of the camera.
You wanted your nose to look as big as humanly possible.
Exactly.
Basically.
And
it's like the least flattering profile shot.
Right?
Unless you're going for something particularly dramatic, but like I think most of the time. Again, I love my 50 for profiles, but it's too bad I'm on a fucking DX camera.
That's why the Sigma 18 to 35 is so good, because you basically get I think it's a 24 or 28 to 50 basically. And it's a 1.8, so you still get that depth of field. Now the bokeh isn't quite as nice
as my or my 1.4.
But having to not stand 8 feet away from whatever you're and also doing,
at least 8 feet.
Doing B-roll with an 18 to 35 is so much. You don't get that camera shake. When you're trying to do any kind of B-roll with the 50 mil, because it's such a long shot, right? Any movement of the camera is like exemplified 10 times over. So yeah, pretty happy about this. This is also one of the sharpest lenses you can get for YouTube videos. A lot of YouTubers use this, the 18 to 35. So I'm looking forward to the sharpness and seeing all the pores on my face. Y'all are lucky.
Oh, you know what? So there's two video related purchases I'm planning on making sometime in the mid future. One is a 22 mil at 1.8. One of Nikon's gold ring prestigious lenses, because I know I'd get a lot more use out of that. Again, I love the 50. I love the 1.4. I love the sharpness of that lens. It's an amazing lens,
nice.
but it's so impractical. It's so impractical. So I need a prime lens that is still I can get some bokeh out of, get some depth, but also that's actually sort of that I can be close to my subject.
Sensors are garbage. Just
Yeah,
they're
I'm
good.
not a fan.
Well, the problem is
I
all the good lenses are being made for APS-C right now. Like all of the good lenses.
So mine, the 50 that I have is obviously it's nice because it doesn't have a designation. It's 50 for FX. So if I go full frame, I can continue to use that lens. My kit lens, most Nikon cameras, I'm sure every manufacturer has their way of doing it, but yeah, totally. But like, so if you get a Nikon FX camera and you put a DX lens on it, you can still use it. The camera will just auto crop to DX.
Oh, does it auto crop? Oh, I know with Canon it's just a bunch of vignetting. And some of it is really bad.
So they do the auto. I guess it can detect if it's a DX lens, and then it will cut just so that you don't get the. Well, but the thing is, like, I don't know. Sometimes maybe you want the vignetting. I don't know. There's applications for vignetting.
Some of the, especially the wide angles, the vignetting is basically a black circle.
Especially when you really clamp down to like f/22. So that's the first thing is a good lens. Second thing is I want a nice gimbal.
Oh, really?
I want a really
gimbal?
nice, yeah.
Just for B-roll or what?
I've been looking. B-roll also. I was looking at the Ronin RS2.
Yeah.
Which is like it's like $1,000 gimbal. It will not be a soon purchase, but it has a follow mode that's really smooth. I've been watching YouTube videos on it, and you can on your phone it will lock on to a something a target, and the gimbal you can sit it on a tripod, and the gimbal will follow you, so you don't even need a camera op.
Wow. How much is that gimbal?
That's like $1,000. It's basically the price of a whole new camera body.
See, this is what I've been trying to avoid because I'm kind of balancing buying like microphones, buying audio gear to review.
And like then buying stuff for your actual content creation needs.
And like I had a bulk of money. I still have a good portion of it, but I'm like, well, I don't need a lens. Like I don't need to go out and buy a lens, but knowing that I might be doing this full time in January, now is the time to be buying that stuff that I shouldn't be buying when I don't have a day job. That's where I kind of went with it this week. And I'm like, I guess spend the $1,000 now so I'm not kind of wallowing in it in January using a $400 lens that does the job, but the chromatic aberrations that you see with that when it's punched into 11, no, I'm good. I can't
especially if you're doing any kind of like cropping in post for a graphic or something. Like my kit lens is bad. My kit lens, for most intents and purposes, is good considering it's a kit lens, but the color aberration is garbage.
I instantly sell it because the price differential on your camera for not having the kit lens, it's always the 18 to 55. And the price differential for not having it is, I think, something like $150. The lens is worth $300 new. So I put it up for $100, and because sometimes you also can't buy the camera without the kit lens, which just drives me nuts. So,
which is, I think it's dumb. I mean, I think most, at least the professional series cameras, like, I mean, you can buy most pro Sony bodies without a lens.
I don't think they come with kit lenses, like at that point. So
no, I think at that point they just assume you have like a flight case with all your lenses in it. Like cinematographer extraordinaire right here.
Well, and this is what I'm going through. Hi, everybody. By the way, we got 5 people in here. Welcome to the show.
And not a single comment.
We're 4 people now. Yeah, comments are coming slow, but that's okay. Welcome, Midnight Wolf. Hi, guys. Went to Sweetwater in Fort Wayne, Indiana today. Played with too much and unfortunately only bought a guitar pedal. If you ever come to the States, I highly recommend checking the place out.
Oh no, I've got I've done a lot of business with Sweetwater. They're good. They know what they're doing.
I've never been there. I've
never been there either. I've seen the place, like pictures of it and stuff. It just basically looks like the Costco of music things. Which is just like, can I live there?
Yeah,
can I
that's
just
okay.
like pull a sleeping bag?
CF says, hey, how you doing, CF Wheezy?
Hey.
Yeah, I've considered moving over to the Sony line for the AA7C. Because
the Sony stuff. It gets a lot of good. I mean, the mirrorless, they're kind of top of the line.
And for video, they're like the one unless you're going to Blackmagic, which I don't.
Yeah, unless
really
you're going to an
do.
actual. If you're going like mirrorless wannabe SLR,
I've
the Sonys are the way to go.
The Blackmagic because they will take Canon lenses, and they have a crop sensor 4K, which because I have crop sensor lenses. I don't want to get rid of my crop sensor lenses now that I've finally got them. So crop sensor 4K on the, I think it's a 4K pocket.
Oh God, I got the Nikon that I have that I use for all kinds of video stuff. I got it because it shoots 4K, but I didn't read the fine print where it says it crops from DX to micro 4/3 when it's doing 4K. Yes. Like I was shooting I had my 18 all the way zoomed out, like 25 feet away from the subject, and it was still like I couldn't get my feet in frame to save my life. Like it's the worst.
It's a pain. Sony has a great line of lenses, all aftermarket lenses adapters. I don't want to do the adapter. If I go full frame and I do an adapter to give myself a crop once again, it would probably piss me off. But that's also one of those like, well, that's going to be a decision for next year, Aiden. Because
cross that bridge when you come to it.
$1,000 lens. I don't think I need to go 4K quite yet. It is one of the goals that I kind of aim for because I would like when I punch in on shots when I'm kind of goofing around during a video and I punch in for it, and you can see the pixels because it's only 1080. One of the other reasons I bought the Sigma because it's sharp. So when you're punching in, you don't quite see the softness of the other lenses. So it's basically the Costco of music. The cafeteria they have is great. Sweetwater has a cafeteria.
That's hilarious. I did not know that.
It's only a half hour from where I live, and I have to avoid going there. I want to go see. I went to the one place, B&H, photo and video. Yep. Love that place. That's like the Costco for video equipment. I want to go down and I want to take a weekend to just do B&H photo and Sweetwater. And then smuggle everything back over the border. If there's any border agents watching, I'm sorry. Gonna have my picture up at all these border agent.
Yeah. Pull this guy in the lane too. Don't even ask him. Just right away.
I would shop pretty much anywhere that has food. Right? Like going to shop and stopping at the cafeteria. It doesn't even matter how bad the hot dogs are. IKEA hot dogs taste great when you're in IKEA. Don't bring them home. It's the same thing with the meatballs. My wife bought the bag of meatballs. They're just not the same when you're not eating them at IKEA. It's...
Yeah. There's a lot of kind of food-related stuff you can say that about. But I think, so Sweetwater's a big one. The other one that I want to visit in the States that I'd probably spend a little bit more time at, no offense, Sweetwater, and my rep over there, but is Vintage King Audio. They're also a really big... They're like high-end place, but them and Sweetwater and them are head-to-head all the time. Yeah. So their demo is very similar. Vintage King tends to deal in less digital, less modern stuff, hence the name. But they do still sell like stuff made now. It just tends to be a lot more eclectic things that you couldn't find at like a Sweetwater. Like that they sell the Telefunken U47 at Vintage King. They'd have to order that in for Sweetwater.
The Lingonberry is brilliant from IKEA. Agreed, Retro. Jan Freeberg says, are Rode Wireless Go 2 as good as the internet say? Any other good solution in the same price range? No. Rode Wireless Go 2. I have a couple friends that have used it. They offered to send it to me. It's it's not outside my wheelhouse, but I'm really not doing any wireless. I have no interest in wearing a mic, so I kind of was
wearing a belt pack.
Yeah, I don't really have that interest yet. Like that's something I'm gonna look into later. I do have a few videographer friends that like it's their go-to. They love it. So one guy got rid of his boom mic for it. It's apparently they're fantastic, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, honestly, I will say I do have a lav, and I
have
it is very convenient. Like when I'm not like in a studio and I'm not like doing videos here and I don't have a bunch, like I don't want to have to set up like a mic stand or get an op to hold it and then all the wiring. Whereas a lab, I just just plug and play, just go. And
I'll get there.
Get it right in.
Like I do have some ideas for videos that take me out of the studio, but for me to do that, and Retro and Ken, will get to this in a second. For videos that are outside, not only do I need a mic, a lavalier, but I also need a camera person. Yeah. Going outside, putting a camera on a tripod and walking back and forth doesn't work. So if I'm just going to stand in the exact same spot,
well, that's where a gimbal comes in.
Yeah, well, to a degree, but I also want, like, I've been trying to train my daughter, Ashley, to hold a camera and to be a camera person. I don't know how much she really wants to, though. Like, I don't think I don't think that the passion is there.
Yeah. And I can't say, I mean, I've done camera work, but more out of necessity for people, because people have needed it, and it's like, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But like, I wouldn't want to choose it as a career. No shade to people that are actual camera ops. It's you get a kick out of that.
My old drummer, MR3FF or Mr. F, however you want to say it, he just went through college to become not really just a like he can work in the movie industry now.
Yeah, like a filmmaker, basically.
Yeah, a filmmaker. Thank you. That's the term. But the problem is I can't pay anyone. Like, I can't pay somebody $60,000 a year to come down here and hold a camera, because
that's where I'm at.
Having an editor would be fantastic. I'll get there. And I promise, like, I don't know if I'm going to give him a job. See if he ends up wanting one when I finally get around to being able to pay people. But that's the dream. But what can you do before that? You just put a camera on a tripod outside, and there you are.
Well, it's like what we're talking about. It's the time money equation. Just coming back all over again.
So Jan, the Rode Wireless 2 Go, get it. If you need them, if that's something, they're top of the market for consumer pro. So they're not the pro, but they are fantastic. And you can get different mics for, like, you can go with the pro mics. As receivers, they're fantastic, and they do everything for you. Ken says, do either of you gentlemen, or if Bangs is in the chat, have experience with the Tascam DR60D MK2 Mark II?
I have used Tascam recorders before. Generally, I don't like them.
Yeah,
I know them.
They're kind of the Behringers of. I don't like to. Yeah,
it's because their field recorders are actually quite good. The Tascam field recorders, they're not as rugged as like a Zoom F series, but they're still their performance is quite good, and their feature set's pretty solid as well.
Well, can you look up what the DR60 Mark II is while you're there? And I'm just going to remind. Retro Gaming says the Wireless Go original isn't as good, and yeah, totally not. It was good for what it was at the time, but it is
a field recorder.
It's a field
the
recorder.
DR60. It is one of their field recorders. Okay, yeah. Okay. So it's again, it's not going to be as good as it's still prosumer.
Yeah.
But it's I think as long as you don't treat it too badly, it's probably going to do you well.
Like, we talking field recorder like the Zoom H series or F series?
F series.
F series. Okay.
F series.
Yeah. So the Zoom will definitely be a step up from Tascam in that regard.
Yeah. And both quality and price. Yeah.
Yes. The price goes. Zoom's prices, man.
Yep.
Some of them are amazing, but they cross a line, and then it's all hell breaks loose.
Zoom's price tag, zoom. Am I right?
And Mazda, apparently. Retro Gaming Bygone says Rode Pod Mic versus PreSonus PD60. Rode Pod Mic every day. I'm not a massive fan of the Rode Pod Mic. I'm also not a massive fan of the PreSonus PD60. I'm also not a fan of PreSonus right now. I have tried them. I don't mind the PreSonus PD60. But I feel like the Rode Pod Mic's a little more. Yeah, that's a tough one. You know what? Maybe I'll grab them and put them side by side just to try them out. But I'm having used both separately, I would probably say Rode, but then I could probably get them together and prefer the PreSonus. After that.
See, I'm biased. I have the same. Like, PreSonus has let me down a fair amount over the years, so I'm so reluctant to recommend anything PreSonus.
It's so hard to like jump. Like, somebody asked me about the AR8, and they're like, "Is it good?" I'm like, "Yeah," until it lit on fire. I mean, that was the biggest problem with it, was the fire hazard. But I mean,
that's the only problem you need to be you know?
Yeah, oh, it's great. Yeah, I really like the faders. I like everything great. You don't like fire in your studio. Well, maybe you might want to consider a different board. Although for the multi-track solution, it is the cheapest multi-track solution that's decent. That's that for studio, not for podcasting. For studio, it is. Mm-hmm. You get below that, you're looking at the Mackeys and you're using third-party. Yeah. You're using ASIO for all or
you're getting messy. You're getting messy at that point. You're getting very messy.
Okay, they have everything from a barbershop geared for the rock star look to a full-blown concert pavilion. I'm guessing this is Sweetwater.
Yeah.
They even had a slide to go down an arcade. They will let you play with even $1,000 stuff. You know what? I like a store that lets me play with the expensive stuff. If I can't play,
I watched a documentary on Sweetwater once, and I think they started out as a business. They started out to provide audio gear to churches and stuff.
Oh, really?
Out that way. Which there's a lot of money in doing that for houses of worship and that stuff. That's a big industry. Okay. I've gone to some churches that have better boards than most of the studios that I've been to. I'm like, what the fuck? $36,000 analog boards. I'm like, why do you have this?
Because
you don't even have live bands.
Yeah, but they have the money, man. And yeah.
Oh yeah, they have the money, and they've got a 36-channel board, and they have no live music.
Miking up an orchestra, not an orchestra, a choir. Miking up a full choir properly.
But they didn't even have that.
One dude music. On the stage, single XLR plugged into it.
Yeah, and a 3 12-channel buckets, just
nice,
crazy.
According to Midnight Wolf, they started out as a recording studio in a microbus, and they actually have it in the store. Wow, that's nice.
I know there is some linkage to churches though. I forget where it is in their story, but there is something to do with churches as to how they ramp
I'm sure,
things up.
From an audio perspective, that's I'm not saying that's the low-hanging fruit, but that's a pretty easy way to get into.
It's very much so. If you're looking to get a quick return.
Yeah, and that's kind of the not only a quick return, but if you know audio and you can supply it to a church, you're good to go. Almost picked up the Rode Wireless Go 2 myself today, but didn't know if it was good. And then Retro Gaming says max SD card on the Tascam DR60 is only 128 gigs. That's not great.
I don't.
That's
what are you recording? 128. My camera has a 32 gig card, and I have never maxed it out because I offload everything after every shoot.
I've maxed out my Zoom H5 with a 64 gig.
Take stuff off it. What's wrong with you?
No, it's not just that. If you get 4 channels going in and you're doing a 4-hour-long wedding.
I have a 32 gig one in my, but you don't, if I'm doing a 4-hour wedding, I'm recording MP3 320 every time.
I have to.
Because I'm not going to need full quality.
I do.
Why?
I do.
Why?
I can't do it.
Why? Think about your destination. Where is the file going?
I know. I just
It's going to get attached to a YouTube video, and it's going to be compressed anyway.
I can't not record a wave. It's like taking pictures with my, $2,000 setup camera. I'm not taking a JPEG. Why would you take a JPEG?
I certainly prefer. I prefer wave when the destination makes sense. So, I'm going to tell you this. You're probably going to cringe. For radio, everything that I bounce out of Pro Tools is MP3. In fact, some of the music beds that I get from our libraries are MP3.
I know.
And some of them aren't even 320.
I know.
Some of them are like 224.
See, I was interviewing an artist today, and they're like, "Hey, do you have a new song?" And I'm like, "No, actually ship it over. We'll get that on the air." And he's like, "Do you take WAV or MP3?" And I know our station takes MP3, but I'm like, "Send it in WAV. I will make the producer export it as an MP3. I don't care."
With music, I make an exception for wave. With music, I will almost always, because I'm always recording music at a higher quality than everything else anyway.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm not taking an MP3 song. Sorry, can't do it. Ken says, "Thanks, guys. I went to my local music store to get an SC of Focusrite Solo. Oh, a Focusrite Solo, but they didn't have one. They had the Tascam for 180, and I was tempted, but decided to wait. Yeah, if that's a 3rd gen Focusrite Solo, wait for it. It's worth it. I would take a Focusrite over a Tascam.
Honestly, I've had the privilege of getting to play around with a 3rd gen Solo because my boss bought it and couldn't figure out how to use it. So he gave it to me for
really?
an afternoon to try and figure it. Well, there's some troubleshooting, but like I got this thing and it's like the size of my phone.
I know.
Like it's fatter, but it's so tiny.
I was like, did you not watch the video I did on that? Like I put it in the palm of my hand.
Yeah, I could literally, like, I have cargo pants. I have cargo pants, and it could definitely fit in the leg pocket, no problem.
Right?
Like, it's crazy. Compared to the 1st generation, like, Solo or Duos that are, like,
the
that
2i2,
big, and it's like,
well, and it's a sleek little unit. If you want just an audio interface sound card for your desk and you don't want half the desk taken up, it's actually a nice little, you can put your monitor on top of it. When it comes down to it, can the end user tell? We're talking
Wave 320. The way I'm always thinking about, and this is like a mastering engineer type mentality, but it's like, where is this going? Is it going on vinyl? Okay, then output a 192 192 kilohertz at 30, or 24 bit. That's what you do. But is it going on Spotify where everything gets compressed anyway? Is it going on YouTube where everything gets compressed anyway? Is it going on Apple Music where everything gets compressed anyway? Then put it, just output an MP3 and be done with it. Half the artists that I work with these days aren't even pressing CDs anymore.
No.
So it's like, if it's all digital, like, I mean, Bandcamp is like one of the few indie sort of stores that will actually put a lossless version for people to buy and get. But, iTunes, Amazon, Apple Music.
So wait, you've sold music, and by the way, Armani Boy, I see your comment. We'll get to that in a second. Now you've sold music. I've actually bought it, and I got the lossless. I got the FLAC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many, if you were to look at your sales, how many of them were lossless versus Wave versus MP3?
Most MP3.
Most MP3, really?
Yeah,
because
there still are a lot of,
especially for the type of music you've released. That's sad.
You would think, but some people just don't really care. And honestly, like I have a tool. I'm not getting into it too deeply, but I have part of the Ozone Advanced Mastering Suite from iZotope is you actually can put a simulated codec in real time on your output, or so I can set show me what this sounds like at an MP3 at 96 kilobits. And it will do that in real time, which is kind of neat. So you can flip between AAC, MP3, all the different bit rates. And this is a really cool feature. I should probably do a video on it. You can solo out the artifacting.
Oh, really?
So you can literally listen to specifically what data is being lost. And at 320 kilobits, it's very, very low volume, very high frequency stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you go down to like 96 kilobits, that.
But that also depends on what you're recording at what depth, right?
Yes.
Like you could be cutting a lot more than that out.
Yeah. For example, recording a voice.
Yeah.
Just a voice and outputting a 320 kilobit MP3 file is fine.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's not that much hanging out in that upper register anyway. The meat and potatoes is in the meat and potatoes region. So
I exported my podcast at 96 because there's a difference. But was it enough of a difference for people to go, gross? No. Nobody even said a thing. However, my intro music, I had some intro music that was
wideband.
It was wideband, and people couldn't hear it. It just sounded like it went silent for a few seconds. It was really super weird.
Well, so what MP3, I'm a nerd, so I know this. What MP3s do is they use a psychoacoustic model to try and figure out what little bits of audio information in the file you're not going to be able to hear, and then it attempts to remove those. Obviously, the algorithm gets more and more liberal the lower your bit rate is. But so a lot of what an MP3 is eliminating is really quiet things. So if you have really quiet stuff in the background of your audio, the algorithm might latch onto that and start deleting little bits of it and compressing it that way.
All right, Armani Boy, I've made Armani Boy wait long enough. I'm guessing
enough.
I'm guessing Armani Boy likes Armani. So I just got a UM2. Is that good enough for an SM58? I already have the SM58. I just need a cable. Yes, the UM2 is perfectly fine for the SM58. In fact, the SM58 fits any interface.
Pretty much.
I would say like you can't go wrong with that unless it's something stupid like 40 dB of gain. The SM58 is gonna suit you.
Yeah, like
fine.
a budget tube preamp or something.
Well, I'm sure I've heard of one preamp. I can't remember which one that only had like 46 dB of gain. I'm like,
yeah, it's PreSonus's tube preamp. I have it beside me. It's
is that only 46 dB?
45
dB. Wow. Yeah,
and when you max it, the noise, because they put shitty Chinesium grade tube
Did you
and it's
change
horrible.
the tube?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, there you go. So we're kind of going back. I got me a 3060. How much do you think? And we're going to switch back to a little bit of computer talk and see if people just drop out of the conversation.
Just drop like flies.
Armani Boy says, "No, it's my name, Armani." Nice.
That's a boss name.
That is a boss name. You need to be a
agree to that
CEO of a company now. Okay, I was worried that it wouldn't output enough audio. Yeah, it'll be fine. You're going to be boosting it in post. You're going to be boosting any microphone in post that's a dynamic, basically. If you don't want to be boosting in post, which isn't that big of a deal,
I'll usually boost in post anyway because I intentionally tend to gain a little bit less just so I'm not getting too high up into the clipping areas. Especially if it's like I'm doing like a character read on a spot and my voice is just naturally being super dynamic. It's like I don't want to risk clipping a perfectly awesome take and having to redo it. So.
Yeah, no, I don't even come close. Neg 12, and that's that. Sometimes maybe a little bit hotter, but hardly ever.
Yeah, just if for anyone who's hearing us talk about this, if you are going to do what we're talking about, make sure you're recording in 24-bit.
Yeah.
Make sure you're recording in 24-bit because if you're not recording at those low volumes, you're sacrificing. You're going to get some quantization madness down there if you record in 16-bit.
Retro says, I almost bought a PreSonus I/O station. It has 80 dB preamps. PreSonus doesn't have bad preamps.
PreSonus is a weird company because they have, like, most of their stuff is prosumer. They do have some very high-end products, though. Yeah. Not many, but they do have some. So that if it has 80 dB of gain, I can assume that comes with a nice, decent price tag.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, Armani says, I will use it for streaming. Yeah, that's fine. You're going to be using probably OBS where you can gain up in OBS, too. So just kind of keep an eye on. Make sure you're not clipping with it.
The I/O station's $400.
Is it?
Yeah.
And it has 80. Oh, I can't. Getting anything past 60 on that's going to be noisy as hell.
Yeah.
Is that 400 US?
That's well, it's just I was just on Google and it said 400, so it's avshop.ca, so that's going to be Canadian.
Yeah. It's the X-Max preamps. What were the ones?
I'm going to assume if they've got 80 dB of gain, I'm going to assume the gain staging inside that preamp, there's going to be like 6 gain stages for them. Otherwise, they're not. They're losing money on that product. Yeah, USB compatible.
How old is that? When was that released? Retro gaming.
I've seen it before. It's kind of it's kind of their interface plus control surface mixed in together.
Okay.
It's kind of its purpose in the market. Gain control range 80 dB. They're right.
Wow.
Not that we doubted you. I was just curious. Dynamic range 107 dB.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not horrible. EIN 128 standard, pretty much.
Yeah.
Input impedance 1.6K.
It was released in 2020. Maybe I'll pick one up and do a. I really want to get it set up so I can do noise levels.
Well, it was kind of basically from what I gathered from looking at it is PreSonus took their fader port, which was their entry level single port control surface. So they took the second generation, they just paired it with an interface basically and said, hey, it's a whole new product.
Hey,
yeah, if it does have
Armani boys in Canada too. Sup?
Armani boy.
Whereabouts in Canada, brother? We're I know Dylan's in London.
We're both,
Stalk him if you choose.
We're both Ontarioids.
Yeah, technically I'm in
Quebec,
but
you're
I'm just
over in
outside of Ottawa. So
you're over in Frankville.
Welcome, Armani boy, to the channel. I take it you're new to the channel or just maybe stumbled across us. Welcome to the party.
I don't recall seeing your name before.
I would. I think I might pick that up, but I'm going to set up a rig so I can actually test my the noise level on preamps. I'm going to get the podcastage set up for that. So
if you're going to do that, you're going to have to do the podcast. Yeah, I was going to say you got to do the podcastage thing and create a jumper.
It was Julian Krause that actually, like, it all came from Julian Krause first to give props. Have you watched any of Julian Krause's videos?
Again, half these people I don't know them by name. I've come across
young German kid.
I'm gonna look him up, and if I might recognize him.
Red Cabin says Julian Krause does a great review of all sorts of preamps. Yeah, Julian Krause is dude's smart. Dude knows what he's talking about. He's got a unique delivery, and I would probably peg that for. I mean, we're obviously not his native language, English. But dude delivers on the info. So, kind of new. I've watched your vids. Well, welcome. In Saga. In Mississauga. Welcome to the party. I have family there.
Oh, you're like I could throw a rock and probably hit your window.
Pretty much. Ken says,
right,
I wanted to solo just for 24-bit. I love my pod track, but 16-bit is a challenge. My son and I have a podcast. We record our audio separately in Audacity. His is 24-bit. The difference is crazy.
16-bit is fine if you're gain staging, if you've got a really healthy gain. If you don't, like, you lose quality as you go. Like, there's a relationship between how loud your stuff is.
Yeah.
If your stuff is close to that, neg 18, neg 17 mark, you're golden. If it's not, if you're like down like neg 40 or something in the FS realm, you're gonna run into trouble.
Aiden, are you still having audio interface issues with Ryzen processor? No, I don't think so. It's really hard to tell. And this is one of the problems that, like, I have a lot of blue screen BSODs for memory issues, and I'm pretty sure that has to do with my interface, AudioFuse Studio. Everything was based around the Intel architecture from about, I would say, 2 years back. It isn't just until the past year and a half that Ryzen's really, Ryzen. So I think that's one of the problems is everyone's kind of restructuring. And I think also Windows is, there have been updates that have smoothed it out. So far I've been good. I've actually only had one blue screen, I think about a month ago. Other than that, it seems to be fine. I do have issues when I'm swapping interfaces though. As soon as I swap my interface out to try something out, because I'll plug an interface into my front USB port. As soon as I do that, my AudioFuse Studio goes on strike for usually about a day. So it's so
it's a temper tantrum.
It's a temperamental little brat. And with this AudioFuse Studio, I also have to clean out the pots. That's annoying. I don't want to have to do that, but I'm starting to get scratchy on my channel 1, which is
get some fader grease and some
pot they're pots. Isn't it like a little spray that you spray into the pot?
Don't use regular deoxit like I think it's the D5. It works for a lot of things, but one thing that it tends to do is it will just obliterate the fader grease, so you're like the smooth rotation of the knob is basically gone. So generally there is another product that Deoxic makes. It's I think it's F5, and it's specifically for faders, and pots of various shapes and sizes. So I would get that. It's more expensive, obviously, because product supply and demand.
Armani says, I mean, honestly, if it doesn't take a huge cut into your wallet, you can go to Canadian Hardware Swap and people will build you a 10850K build with 3060s for dirt cheap. You know what? I got my in. If you're in Canada, Memory Express, they will put you on a list for a card, for a graphics card. Now, right now, they have 3080 Ti's in stock in the Ottawa location. But they
Too bad it's like $3,000.
No, it's not, because you have to buy a power supply with it. They bundled it, and that's the only way they can sell it, and they ran out of power supplies. And the power supply is because you need a power supply for the voltage jumps from the 3080 Ti. Now, if you looked, the 3080 Ti is like a fraction of the cost, but also with 3090
I think that's what I was thinking. I think the 3090 was the one I was thinking.
So it's $2,300 with the power supply. and they'll put you on a list for any card. So I was like, I kind of want a 3070. Maybe he's like, get a 3060 if you're just doing video. He said you will actually have more memory on the 3060, and it's $500. So
good to know.
Done.
I'm doing that.
Now, this is a question. How much should I sell my 1060 for? Because on the market, if you go Facebook Marketplace, they're selling 1060s and even 1050 Ti's for like $400. And I'm not going to do that. I refuse.
Yeah, I was going to say, it depends how fast you want to get rid of it.
No, people are buying them, dude. Because you know the best card you can get right now? 1660 Ti, which has less performance than a 1060.
Jesus.
Right?
Lard.
It's like the performance is garbage. So I think I might go for like 150, 200. The thing will be gone in a day as soon as I put it up. So we'll see. We'll see. Ken, still running the 420, Aiden. I think it sounds better than any mic you've used on the stream. Yeah, I'm running 420. This is now, I'm keeping the P120 and I'm keeping the 420. I might as well keep the 420. I mean, yeah, I don't need the polar patterns, but I mean, I have them, so I might as well keep it. And I'm probably getting rid of the 220 along with, I think I'm getting rid of the Stellar X2 as well. Hey, Dylan, hit me up if you want a new mic. So
no,
no.
No, I do not need more mics. I do not need more mics. Sure you do.
Everyone needs new mics, buddy. Has the Isovox...
Says the guy that reviews the mics.
All right, I'm jumping ahead here. Red Cabin Acoustic. Keg Laboratories Deoxit Fader F5 Fader. I'm guessing that is...
That's it. That's what I... Yeah.
Okay, I'll pick that up. Jan, has the Isovox arrived? Looking forward to the review. I just got an email from them on Tuesday or Wednesday that they've sent it, and it's supposed to be here in 2 weeks. Now, I have preemptively, because I think this Isovox review is going to be big. It's not going to be a short little, here's an Isovox. Bah! Hit like, get subscribed. So I've actually done up a couple videos preemptively so I can get lots of time in to do this. So I'm going to be shooting that as soon as it comes in. Now, Isovox wants me to do something. They want me to actually sit in with them on a Zoom call while I put it together to make sure I'm putting it together right for the review. Like they're pretty hands-on. They're hands-off for the review. The only thing they've asked that if I don't like it, I send them the Isovox back. So they said, if you like it, cool, you can keep it. But if you don't like it, you can still do the review, just send it back. So that's, if anyone's wondering about how hands-off they are on the content, I'm not doing a paid, and I'm also not paid. I just get to keep the Isovox. There is that. The bundles are kind of bad. They do mark up the prices though. Yeah, bundles on hard, like I know Newegg's got the bundles, and I've noticed that the MSRP has just gone into the trash with video cards, which sucks so much because like the MSRP for a 3060 should be about $400. Should be. I'm going to be spending $500. So whatever. Midnight Wolf, I use CRC contact cleaner made for pots and it cleans up nicely. Just have to make sure to relube. Fixed a used Mackie board I got for $25. Wow. Nice. Yeah, I'm going to completely tear this thing apart when I have time. And this is the problem with running one single interface and not having a backup. As soon as I take this thing apart, my whole studio is down until I get it back together. And I have to wake up and do a morning show at 5 in the morning. So, like,
hurry up.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I would have to crack it on a Friday night. But then my weekend is usually when I do my editing and get a lot of stuff done. So finding free time to be able to tear this thing down is going to be interesting, to say the least. And maybe I just need to go get another interface for the time being. Not even a day. Honestly, 30 minutes is more than enough. Not exactly sure what that means. I don't know what he's saying. I really want a 420. Damn you. Ken, they're pretty decently priced, buddy. I know, anytime you're looking at something like a new mic upgrade, it can suck, but depending on what you're running through right now, you can always resell and buy. That's what I've normally done. Is I don't like to keep a lot of microphones. I just keep what I need to do the Oh, not even a day. Yeah, I bet you any money it's probably that card's going to go out the door. If you sell your old mic, it'll take quite a bit off the top for a new one. And I got to say, like, the idea that it comes with its own shock mount's pretty sweet. So let me know if you decide to buy it. They say you can keep it only if you like it. That sounds shady.
I have to agree. Like, why not just say, satisfaction guarantee? That's the less sketchy way to say essentially the exact
same. You know what?
Thing.
And that's, they just want it sent back because they don't want it sold off, or they don't want it. They want me to use it on the channel. And when I was talking to the guy, it wasn't put in a sketchy way, but he does, like, they stand behind it. The Isovox, they were standing behind it. I've heard a lot of great reviews. I haven't really heard any bad reviews about the Isovox. One person said it sounded boxy. That's
yeah.
But I mean, you're in a sterile sound environment. It probably will sound a little bit boxy.
Well, one thing is there will still be some low frequency information that will build up in that box.
Yeah.
You can do tests where you take if you take like an amplifier, like a speaker, and you put a mic in front of it, and then you do like a sweep.
Yeah.
And then keep the mic, don't move the mic at all, don't move the speaker at all, keep everything the same, and then like just drape a curtain, just a really thin curtain over top of the whole, like the mic and the speaker. You'll notice the low end suddenly gets really boomy. So yeah, there is of course some of that will.
Yeah, and let's be honest, if I break it open and I get it set up and I don't like it, I'm probably going to want to send it back anyways. I don't want.
Yeah.
The thing's not it's not a small little amp, or it's not a small little interface or a microphone.
No, it's quite an intrusive apparatus.
It's bloody huge, and I don't know where I'm going to put it right now. I really like the idea of using it for voiceover. And I really do want to grow this studio out for doing voiceover.
Well, the way, one of the things I could see that being useful for is like career syndicated VO artists that are on the road a lot and need to record VO in hotel rooms. Like I've seen some crazy makeshift, like they'll take all the bedding off of the bed and they'll make this big tent in the corner, and I'm like, oh my god, like every VO person I've seen on the road does that. I'm like, man, something like this would be so useful if you do that a lot.
And that's huge, right? Like it does fit in your trunk. It does, it does tear down to that. It's a pain. You're lugging around this massive thing on planes and shit, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But if you're a career voiceover artist,
does it come in like a bag or something?
I'll let you know. I don't like. I haven't really looked.
Because it'd be nice if like, I don't know, maybe this is an idea for the company as an upsell. If you are somebody that's going to be using it on the go, if they sold some kind of hard flight case that you could buy with it, that everything just kind of fit inside.
That's fair, nicely. Actually. I will actually talk to them and see if they offer that, because something like that would. Well, like when you think about it,
if they don't, they should.
With the microphone included, I think it's $3,200 for both, with the microphone and the Isovox. That would warrant a hard shell, like a hard flight box, like that easily. So yeah, we'll see when it comes here. Like I said, if I don't like it, I will probably just stamp it and send it back anyways. But there's nothing on my radar that tells me I'm not going to like it.
Well, that's good. I mean, give them the benefit of a doubt, at least for the time being.
Well, even you've kind of been curious about trying it out too, right? Like it's.
Well, I've seen the ads and stuff, and again, at that price point, they're not pulling any punches. They're like, like it better be worth that money if you guys are billing me for that. Oh my god,
it's halfway between that and a Studio Bricks. Like the.
Well, I was gonna say I could buy a full like prime acoustic treatment package for a 250 square foot room, and it's actually going to be less expensive than the Isovox.
But that's if you're doing like booth style reads where you want not a room but a booth.
Then you could just take you could just take that same package and use it to treat the booth instead of the room.
Well, and this is
because it's all absorption panels.
The one thing I'm also going to be doing beyond the Isovox is I want to compare it to a homemade booth. And I've got a buddy of mine, actually my co-host on my morning show, who's looking to start up doing ACX audiobooks. He's going to be doing all the adult-themed books to try to make some coin. So I'm going to build a homemade booth with some PVC pipe and some moving blankets, and I'm going to compare the two. Now, I know that the moving blankets and the PVC pipe isn't going to block out a lot of sound coming in, which the Isovox, according to its literature, does. It does isolate from sound. So we'll see about that. But I do want to compare the two to see how they're going to.
It will
perform.
not, just to set, a good expectation. It will not absorb. It will not effectively, or I shouldn't say, it won't efficiently block sound out. It will block some.
Yeah.
But
what it's going to do, it's going to block your voice from getting out and back in again. That's the big one.
Well, yeah, it'll eliminate a lot of reflections and it'll absorb a lot of crap. But as far as like, having a solid STC rating, that's not, that's a byproduct.
Here's the thing. Also, that's something I want to talk about here. It's 6:00. We're going to have to get going. Let me get more up to date on some of these comments. I know I'm such a noisy environment. It's hard to, so I've avoided condensers. Yeah, condensers in noisy environments don't bother.
Good call.
Can't be worse than my next project of pleated memory foam and a plastic tote. You know what? If that works, that works. Usually, if you're just doing something to surround the mic, the biggest problem is you need something behind you. You can't. It's the rear reflection that will kill you the most with the microphone.
Yep.
So that's the chaotic eyeball and all that stuff. That's why those things kind of fail, is because that rear reflection really does screw you up.
Yeah, you're eliminating the reflections on the part of the mic that has the maximum amount of rejection. How does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, again,
it's supposed to
said,
stop your voice from going and then coming back, and then.
That said, well, even if it does come back, it's going to go there, and then it's going to hit the microphone.
Yeah.
But so, like, if you're in a situation like with an acoustic guitar, which just basically acts as an acoustic mirror, where sounds come from the back of the mic, hit the guitar, and then go into the microphone, then having some absorption behind your mic makes sense.
Yeah,
just geometrically. But for a voice, because we're big bags of water.
Yeah. Armani boy, I just realized something. The condenser mic sounds more like a dynamic mic than the dynamic mic, and the dynamic mic sounds more like a condenser mic than the condenser mic.
I'm confused.
So am I. Smoked pot in it. You might only need a couple hits and boom, baked. Nice. I haven't smoked pot since I was 24.
I missed a bunch of stuff. I just saw my name get mentioned here.
I would have an anti-reverb. We'll get there. Oh yeah, Dylan uses a lot of processing, Armani. There it is. Oh, he's saying your dynamic sounds like a condenser, and mine sounds like a dynamic. I don't think mine sounds like a dynamic. Mine sounds like
Aiden doesn't have anything on his, because Aiden doesn't believe in hardware processors.
No, it's not. Aiden can't afford it, and Aiden also has a relatively dead room already. So I don't.
Most of mine, I'd say half of the analog processors I've gotten for free.
Screw you, Dylan.
I'm such a shit.
Screw you, Dylan.
But,
yeah.
Well, no, this isn't going through any. This is all software processing on the SM7 right now.
I have a lot of treatment in my room. It's not a dead room by no stretch of the means, but it is dead for voice. Like I don't really have much problem with that. I would have an anti-reverb work in that situation. How would an anti-reverb work in that situation? Anti-reverbs,
as far as a tool goes, anti-reverbs are shite. Yeah. I've used several of them. They end up adding more crap than they actually remove. Like for example, RX. I have a few coworkers that actually swear by D-reverb, and I hate it. That's one of the things in RX that I never ever use. Because like once it's baked in there, there's not much you can do. The only thing that I will say, and I've given this advice for remote client recordings, is if you have a room that you absolutely cannot treat, like if you've got a room, it's got a solid floor, it's got, I don't know, hardwood, it's got big glass windows or something, and just nothing you can do to treat it. Like if you're, I don't know, in a car dealership, and there's no room available and you have to record somewhere, get in the middle of that big room. Don't get close to the walls, because I'm going to at least get rid of the early reflections as much as I can. And then I can handle some of that late reflections, the rest of the reverb tail, with a gate, and maybe get rid of some of it. But if you're recording in a big room and you're next to a wall, that's worse.
Well, and that's the thing. Worse. The bigger the room and the closer you are to the wall, it becomes problematic.
Well, even in a smaller room, it's worse because you can't really get away from the walls that easily. But if you're in a, like I've had people record VO stuff in a school gymnasium, and I get right in the middle of like the basketball court symbols on the floor. Yeah. And I can actually, with a dynamic mic, I can actually get pretty good results from that, with very little noticeable reflections. Cold voice, it would be challenging, but if it's with music or if there's some ambience, like car, I don't know, some street or audio or something, it's doable.
Yeah. Ken just defending my honor. Aiden has more treatment in his room. That is true.
Yep.
Armani, how come you don't just make 6 panels covered with normal studio foam that interlock, kind of like those kid play mats, but with foam on them? I think that would be better than the Isovox. What the Isovox does...
And cheaper.
Yeah. What the Isovox does is it allows you a streamlined way to set up and record voiceover anywhere. And that's one of the things that I want to use it for, like in my living room or in my kitchen, where there's a lot of really hard surfaces. Can I just pop my head into the Isovox and get a VO quality recording that can be used without much, messing around. I also want to check out and make sure that it actually has properties for soundproofing, because here's the difference. And this is the one thing that there is a huge difference from sound treatment and soundproofing. Soundproofing is very hard and very expensive.
Well, it's not. It's actually, I don't find it hard. It's more invasive.
Yes, it's invasive, but it is expensive. If you want if you want it well done, like to have a soundproofed room, perfectly soundproofed, would run you like in the tens of thousands. Your key with
soundproofing, and I've done it with studio designs before, is your key is the phase change boundaries. So, in other words, you lose a ton of energy going from gas to solid and way more energy going solid back to gas, back to solid. So a lot of really the best soundproofing, in fact, usually has like solid, then air, then another solid, then other side of wall. Because with a normal house, the problem that you have, or with a normal building, is you've got sheetrock, then you've got, studs like physically connected to the sheetrock, and then more sheetrock on the other side. So the vibrations just go right through. But if you have a big vacuum, or well, not actually a vacuum, but if you have a big air gap in the middle,
vacuum,
that would work. That would work quite well. But if you have a big, hypothetically, if you could fill your wall with a vacuum, that would actually help a lot. But if you can have an actual air gap where you got 2 walls and they're not physically touching in the middle, you've got like 2 sets of studs and then like 4 inches between them with nothing. That's a huge, you're gonna have a much better STC rating. Yes. Than you would if you just had 2 walls tied together.
Describe what STC rating is.
So STC is basically it's just sound transmission class. Basically, STC is a number.
Yes.
And the higher the number, the better. So basically, what the number is the amount of dB that you lose from one side of the wall to the other. So if you have a STC rating of 60 dB, which is pretty good, then that means from one side of the wall, if you have something playing, at 120 dB. On the other side, you get 60 dB.
Yes.
Theoretically. Yes. Theoretically.
So
there are some effects.
To do a full room, you're not only changing the size of the room, because you need a gap in there, and that gap needs to be like nothing can touch.
Yeah, you can't invent room out of nowhere. So generally, soundproofing is one of the things that's easiest to do when in the architecture phase, when you're actually building something. To try and do it to an existing room that isn't proofed is going to be a pain.
But you can also get material that has STC rating to it. So stuff like what the Isovox 2 actually has an STC rating.
All absorption materials, any material with a high absorption coefficient, like the absorption panels, rock wool, anything like that,
it all works.
Will naturally have the ability, because basically what happens is the little air gaps that exist in that foam act like an acoustic labyrinth, kind of similar to what exists in a lot of condenser mics. Yeah. I have one right here. Why did I need to pull that one?
I don't know.
I'm like, I don't know. I was just looking at it and I was like, oh, this has an acoustic. Well, that's why the RE20 has all these grills on it, because it's got that acoustic labyrinth to help.
And like with something like Rockwool I think has an STC of 15. So it's not going to be a perfect fix. Moving blankets have an STC themselves. But when you have something that's engineered for it, like the Isovox, It is supposed to, and this is without me having it, by the way. I'm not talking it up, but the sell on this is it has an STC rating that would be greater than blankets, and that justifies the price. If it didn't, oh my God, that would not justify the price. So when you're doing something and you're trying to get rid of those reflections, if it's literally blocking the reflections from getting in just by its STC value, that's fantastic. And that's what you pay the money for, like being able to build this.
So I look at it geometrically, like, similar to how the cardinal rule with absorption panels is if you want to get the biggest bang for your buck putting them up on your wall, you use standoffs. And you create a little bit of gap behind the absorption panels as opposed to affixing them right to the wall. Yeah. And the reason for that is because you create that little extra air gap and you're minimizing the contact with the wall. So the sound goes to all the trouble going through the absorption material, going through the air behind it, bouncing off the wall, back through the air, back in the absorption, and you lose a ton of energy with all those transitions.
Yeah. Yep.
Transitions are key.
Transitions are key.
So with the ISOVox, it's kind of like that, except instead of standoffs, the ISOVox is physically disconnected from any. So your sound goes through the air in the cavity, through the material in the ISOVox, then through the air behind the ISOVox, then hits the wall, back through the air, back through the So you got a lot of transitions.
And this is going to sound really tiny. This is going to sound really petty, but there is. How do I put this without offending people? From a professional level, if you had the option of hiring a guy with a Studio Bricks isolation booth for voiceover, or a guy with moving blankets on some PVC pipe, which one are you going to hire?
If you're professional?
What's that?
If you're professional?
Both professional.
Or just...
Both the dudes are professional. You're a professional. You're hiring one of these guys. One guy's got a Studio Bricks, and the other guy's got... Your first impression is going to be going with the Studio Bricks. Now, I know what Dylan's thinking. Course. Dylan's thinking, well, if they're good, they're good. And that's true, but that aesthetic does actually come into play. Now, whether or not
I'm on that train as well. Yeah. Like, I'm thinking if you're a professional, you want something that's, going to be structurally sound. Not to say that PVC pipe and blankets is not going to be structurally, but there's a risk there.
Yeah.
But the aesthetics are like professional. You want professional grade stuff. It kind of goes back to what we talked about with the worker bee.
I have actually been asked by a company that wanted me to do voiceover what my reflection levels. They asked for a bunch of audio measurements from my room. So when you have a Studio Bricks, you can just hand them the piece of paper from Studio Bricks and say this. When you have blankets on PVC, you don't have those numbers. I'm guessing you don't have those numbers. So
you don't have any measurements to go off of.
There is a certain amount of, and I hate to call it prestige that comes along with stuff like this. For a lot of people that think it's overpriced.
Well, but you are paying in most cases with professional caliber stuff like that. You are actually at the end getting your money's worth.
Yes.
As much as intuitively right away, because we go off the price of the product itself.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of tie-ins that you're also paying for that end up evening out. You get your value, and sometimes you get more than your value. I
am really curious about the ISO mic.
That one I'm also quite skeptical of.
I'm not going to be skeptical, but I am going to be very interested in testing it out. I've always wondered why you can't just rip off sheetrock and have the insulator work as soundproofing, kind of like in those unfinished basements without the plastic. Well, one, that's actually a horrible environment to be in.
So I will speak to this because there's a studio that I used to do work with that So what they did is they built the studio with no sheetrock, and they instead just staple gunned just high thread count fabric to the studs.
That's nice.
And then they had, obviously they had, pieces of wood that switches were mounted to and stuff, but it worked really well. They didn't need any absorption material because the wall was a giant absorber. That said, your STC goes down.
Yeah.
Your STC goes down, but they had built the walls of the studio to be the double with the internal 4 inches. So, it was the best of both worlds. So I would say, you can do that, but you definitely have to cover the fiberglass with something. Otherwise, you're going to get shards and particles getting into the air and screwing with you.
Ken says, I record in a sleeper of my semi-truck, a moving blanket hung up behind me and one in front that I get decent sound. You know what? Vehicles, I think Red Cabin
are designed
says,
to be acoustically absorbent.
Yeah, they're to kill road noise, so they are actually designed with STC ratings in mind. So, yeah, you can actually get really good recording. I actually had a video was it last August when I hit 100? No, it was August before I hit 100 subscribers. And I did a video because I was giving away a lav mic for my 100 subscribers. Worst idea ever, by the way, because everybody basically was signed up, subscribed to my page, then told me to fuck off when they didn't win it. So didn't do really well for my, anyways. I did one of the videos from the car, and it sounded fucking amazing. Like, it sounded so good. So, yeah, if you're in a pinch, jump in your car, just don't turn it on, and you'll probably get some nice results. Retro says, hey, you could be buying a $7,000 whisper room. I wish I had room for a $7,000 whisper room. Unusual audio, it would be really cool if you measured it and created a waterfall diagram for the Isovox versus blankets versus bare room. I would love to do that. I suck at doing diagrams and graphs and stuff like that.
I'll do it for you.
Oh,
I'll do it for you.
I'll get you the info. Cool.
It's not hard.
Thank you, Dylan. I suck at that stuff, man.
2 seconds in Illustrator and
Don't know if it'd be great YouTube content. You know what? Whatever. Like, if I can find a way to put that stuff together, I'm going to be doing my review of the Isovox separately, and then I will be expanding on the content as time goes with the
on the topic of this. I saw a really interesting doc the other day about a guy who built a vocal booth out of the hollowed out turbine chassis from a jet engine.
Oh, yeah?
And he made this big cylinder into a booth. And the thinking was that because the inside material of a jet cavity has these hexagonal acoustic liners.
Yeah.
And because they were so overpowered to help, minimize a lot of the crap from literally stopping the engines from tearing themselves to shreds, that he thought that he would do it, and it actually worked quite well. Somebody else made a vocal booth out of the silo of an old Minuteman missile site, a decommissioned missile silo.
Nice.
Because those missile silos have acoustic panels inside them,
I guess
so that the missiles don't tear themselves apart before they can even get out of the silo. Actually, sorry, it wasn't a Minuteman site. It was one of the Titan II silos from the Cold War. Very
cool.
much decommissioned. But, and it, again, worked quite well, even though the silo was like 100 feet tall.
Room EQ Wizard, REW, Rue, whatever you want to call it, says super easy with Rue. Speaker in place of your head, then just follow the wizard thing. Oh, I might try that out. Oh, Dylan's like, no.
The thing is there is I see the logic with it, and it is counterintuitive in a sense, but the thing about audio and the way that it works in a room is, I remember IK Multimedia, actually, for years they had a product that was meant to do this, which was meant to counteract some of the acoustic modifications that a room would make. In other words, if a room had a lot of bass, they would just roll off the bass of the speakers to compensate for that. That doesn't work because there's a lot of variables in a room that change, and that change pretty frequently. Like the humidity, for example, has a huge impact on what kinds of sounds get reflected and get absorbed and get, room modes. How many people are in the room? What's the orientation of stuff? Do you have a guitar sitting there as opposed to sitting there? There's a lot of variables that just doing one. So every time you'd work, you'd basically need to make a new curve because there's going to be things that are going to change. Even the density of your body. If you drink more water, your body's more absorbent. So it's hard.
That, my friends, is an anal retentive man at his best. I love that. that is like can't pull a pin out of your ass with 40 horses. That's what that is.
You're rather than it's one of those things. You're better off just treating the room. Don't try and take shortcuts. Yeah. I don't think you're gonna.
He was just talking about it in testing the room with the different voiceover booths, Isovox versus that and that. So
versus the blankets.
Yeah.
Versus the.
So we'll look at
the Isovox, the blankets, and then like a studio
just
thing.
regular room. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll actually talk about this off camera, like, because we'll put it together to see how we do that. I have to go pick up my child, so I'm gonna go through a few of these, and then we're gonna let you go.
That is arguably quite important.
Yeah,
picking up your child.
Yeah, I'm not talking about applying any EQ. You can use REW to measure reverb time in the frequency domain.
Yeah, as a measurement tool, absolutely.
I will use
but
that.
As far as using it to like apply any kind of biasing curve.
Much of the acoustic discussion is about mixing position for mastering, not recording different things, but it is a start. And then retro gaming
designing
bygones.
Designing a room for mixing versus performance are two very different things.
This is one of my favorite messages today. Retro gaming bygones, large lunch, and it's because I'm burping because I've been drinking this.
I haven't even noticed.
Boisson gazeuse. Basically, the gazeuse means it's full of gas.
Boisson gazeuse,
sparkling soda, blood orange. I'm off sugar during the week. I don't eat sugar Monday to Friday. It's the thing I've been doing for my morning show, and I've actually been losing a lot of weight doing it.
I was going to say, you're a stronger man than me, man. That's the one thing. I can cut everything else out.
See, and this is the thing, like, the amount of sugar that I was eating was ridiculous, and I've been gaining weight. And then I see myself on camera, I'm like, ugh. So I've actually started a workout routine, and I'm starting to get the muscle back and getting rid of all the fat. But this is the one thing, because it's sugar-free, I can actually enjoy this during the week, but it makes you burp. So... not a large lunch. Thank you for noticing, Retro, my favorite message of the day. That's it for us, though. Getting out of here. Thanks for joining us, guys. I'm going to go pick up my kid, and we'll see you same place, same time next week. Just drink booze, Aiden. Forget the food. He ain't